right, Mr.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, be with us this evening as we do the business for the city and the community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Item C, this is the approval of agenda. This is the approval of the agenda for today, August 10th, 2026.
I'll move we approve the agenda.
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Under citizens' comments, Mr. Chair, if you want, you can open and close citizens' comments.
We'll open and close citizens' comments.
Very good. This item E is the consent agenda. So this is to approve the minutes from July 13th, 2026 regular planning commission meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. F, old business, there's none. G, new business. So this is related to the urban area of influence. This is going to be an update, and we'll also talk with item H1 about strategic growth zone. But on April 13th, 2026, Planning Commission reviewed the possibility of submitting a request for an increase to the city's urban area of influence. After reviewing the agenda, they voted in favor of submitting the application to the county to begin the review process. The review process starts with the county's advanced plans committee reviewing the proposal and submitting a recommendation to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. After review by the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission goes to the Board of County Commissioners for final review and approval. The city has met with the advanced plans committee twice now, and both times that item was tabled. The city is trying to advance agenda items to the next round, but staff is running into difficulties with how the urban area of influence is perceived by the county, staff, and the committee as a whole. City staff is updating the planning commission on the status of the urban area of influence. The next meeting will be September 10th at 10 a.m. at the Ronald Reagan Building. This is some of the issues that we're running into, and I'll kind of just explain it. This item is a receive and file, just to kind of let you know the status of it as moving forward. But purple is our current urban area of influence. As you can see, we're touching the boundaries on several points, and then also we get close to the boundaries over here. Green is our proposed urban area of influence. When the county saw this, they thought, well, the green is too big. They also thought that green meant that, hey, everything is going to be annexed into the city limits by 2035, around this time, because Wichita has what's called the 2035 urban area of influence as well. They have their urban growth zone, I should say. So they were looking at the green and said, there's no way that Goddard would be that big by 2035. And we were trying to explain to them that this is an urban area of influence. We're not saying we're going to be this big by 2035. We're just saying as we grow over time, because we are growing, we want to have a review of things that inevitably we will end up either annexing or having a direct review over in the future. The advanced planning committee said, why don't you guys just submit this every year? At which point we said, obviously we don't want to waste planning commission's time, as well as advanced planning committee's time and staff's time to just keep submitting this again year after year after year after year. Also, as mentioned, it's the advanced plans committee, so that's only step one. After that, you have to go to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, and then the Board of County Commissioners for final review. So we also did mention that to Stephanie Wise. We said, hey, we're stuck at step one. We've been tabled twice. We haven't even been able to advance it yet. Another thing is they're trying to see how big our school district is in relation to Goddard, and also they're trying to get some additional review from Garden Plain. They mentioned getting some review from Clearwater, which I don't think is necessary, but they're trying to cover all their bases, which I think is kind of miring the project down a little bit, and that's kind of some of the issues that we're running into. So on this map, you can see red is our current, blue is our proposed, yellow is the school district, gray is Wichita, and purple is Wichita's 2035 urban area of influence. We also have our bypass design overlay right here, which is in line with the 96 to 54 bypass. And so what you can see here is that Wichita is actually anticipating growing around the bypass should it ever actually happen. I think a lot of people anticipate that if the bypass does happen, there's going to be a lot of commercial growth that happens around the bypass, and so Wichita is anticipating capturing that growth. So that's one reason why we're saying, hey, we would like to at least capture the growth on the southern edge of the bypass as it at least touches in Goddard. And on top of that, the more that we can capture of the Goddard School District, the better it is for us, because a lot of developers want to build in the Goddard School District. And as you can see, Wichita has grown substantially into the Goddard School District as residential development continues. So we're going to continue to push back and continue to send data and maps to the county to try to advance this. Another point that came up was that the county staff reached out to the Center for Economic Development Business Research, and they told the county that West Wichita, this area here, and Goddard, this area here, was only going to grow by 200 people over the next 4 years, which was, we said doesn't make sense, just empirically speaking. And we encouraged everybody, all the advanced planning committee, to drive on down 54 past into West Wichita and Goddard and take a look around all the development. It's very clear that we're going to be far beyond 200 people in the next 4 years. And so there's a lot of disconnect, there's a lot of just general misunderstanding about how this applies. There's just some general confusion, and also, like I said, this is only step one, so we're just trying to push it along. We're hoping that this next item would at least advance it. We're anticipating right now that the county staff is probably just going to say their recommendation was just to extend the urban area of influence around Rachel Brook Estates in this area right here. And then just leave the rest the way it is, which we don't think is reasonable, because obviously we're almost touching it here, we're touching it here, and almost right here. So at some point, if we annex this, we're immediately outside the urban area of influence. So I think there is a lot of confusion related to this, and I'm hoping to kind of help dispel some of that confusion and help have things move forward, at least to step 2. If we can at least get to step 2, then we can have some more serious conversations about it. Is there any questions related to this?
How long has this been going on?
So urban area of influence, last time we updated it, where we got the red, was back in 2020. We submitted this application when we brought the application was back in July. So now it's been a little over a month now, trying to.
Overall and great.
What was that?
I don't know. But it's not connected anymore.
Okay. So at least a little over a month now, I suppose. Maybe longer. Maybe almost 2 months at this point.
So the Sedgwick County Commissioners have the ultimate authority, right?
Yeah, county commissions.
So if the Advanced Planning Commission flat out denies it, does it still go on to the next step?
Yeah,
Or just
it
deny
does.
it? Okay. And then
And what they'll do is they wouldn't really deny it, they would probably just accept the county staff's recommendation, which would be just to increase it to go around racial Brook Estates. Which their recommendation doesn't make sense, and so that's another part of the frustration, is that staff's recommendation, county staff's recommendation doesn't make sense. WSU's data doesn't make sense. The Advanced Plan Committee doesn't understand how it functions, and so everybody's kind of stuck here. And so I'm hoping that they, at least, if they just accept county staff's recommendation, then we can just say, well, that's their recommendation. That doesn't mean it's what it is. And we can move on to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and say, hey, this is your staff's recommendation. We don't think it's that reasonable, and here's why. And then hopefully they can make a more reasonable recommendation to the county commissioners, and then we can have more of a dialogue with the county commissioners who have the final authority.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to make sense that Wichita could grow by that much by 2035, but Goddard can't. In a way, like, they're covering some of the areas we're taking.
That's right, and I think another thing that came up, which I wasn't aware of, is that blue, that overlap of blue and purple right here, and this overlap of blue and purple right here, they're saying that if they approve our blue here, they have to amend their purple to go around the blue.
Right.
And so that's one thing that they're recommending as well. But I would say that's reasonable for them to amend their purple as opposed for us to amend our blue, because we are highly likely to annex all that development within the blue, as opposed to them jumping all the way over here and taking that part for Wichita.
I agree.
what's the difference between a growth area and an area of
influence?
So the growth area, there's no difference, generally speaking, except that Wichita and Eastboro have no urban area of influence. But the urban growth area, the 2035 urban growth area, and the urban area of influence, they're identical. They're almost synonymous in terms of their geography. But Wichita and Eastboro do not have an urban area of influence. They just have a growth area, which, of course, for Eastboro is non-existent practically. So,
If they approve the blue line for Goddard, what services does Goddard have to furnish to any of these people within?
none.
Nothing?
Nothing. This will let you guys see conditional use permits, maybe some plats, variances, or rezonings in the blue area, but it doesn't require us to provide services because we're not annexing any of those properties yet. This is just saying we want advanced review of what's happening in the blue, because at some point, whether it's 2035, 2045, 2055, or 2065, we're probably going to be having development in that area. And at some point, the county really wants to release any areas to municipalities that it doesn't want to serve anymore. And so as we grow, and we grow around county islands, then the county's going to say, can you take ownership of these roads? Can you take ownership of these developments? And so at some point, we're going to have to decide if we want to. They can force us to annex roads. They can't force us to annex developments, but at some point, it would make sense that we would annex the developments. So we want to have an advanced review of what those developments are, so you guys can see them now, because in 10 years, they'll probably be in the city of Goddard. If not 15 years or 20 years, and that's where I think a lot of the confusion comes in. Is that they're saying, you're saying you're going to be that big by 2035. I'm saying, no, we're saying at some point we will be that big. It doesn't mean 2035, but at least give us a chance to review these things before they are platted, because another part of it is that it gives us the ability to decide if we want to provide services up front. We don't have to, but if a development is only a half-mile away from Goddard, and it's got a substantial property tax base, then perhaps we do want to provide services. So there's a lot that kind of goes into that. You guys saw a couple of these. Obviously, the red area is a current urban area of influence. We had a couple of conditional use permits that came before the planning commission that were outside the city limits. And then you guys can vote on them. Ultimately, it goes to the Board of County Commissioners for final review. But if you guys denied something, it would force a supermajority of the Board of County Commissioners on particular items. But it doesn't mean that we have universal authority outside the city limits.
Is there any limit to how large Wichita could grow, like develop Goddard completely at some point?
Wichita can grow and develop Goddard if it wants to, yeah. There's nothing that prohibits it. Like I said, these urban growth zones and urban areas of influence, they don't prohibit annexation. It doesn't give us first right of refusal for annexation. So just because it's in the blue area, it doesn't mean that, hey, Clearwater, or Clearwater is a bad example, Garden Plain or Wichita, you can't annex these areas that are in the blue. If somebody petitions Garden Plain or Wichita to annex and they're in the blue, they can do that. And so the way it would be a little bit more complicated would be if it was an island annexation that was petitioning to be annexed by Wichita and it was in the blue, then we would have more review and authority to say this doesn't really make sense considering how close we are in proximity to it versus Wichita. But if something was actually, like I said, Garden Plain and they're annexed and being Garden Plain, we can't prohibit it just because they're in the blue area. So this is just receive and file, and like I said, the next meeting will be September 10th at 10 o'clock. So if any of you want to be in attendance at that meeting, it's at the Ronald Reagan building, but you can witness my third attempt to try to get it past step one. So at that point, if you're...
And when is that? That was September 10th.
September 10th at 10 a.m. at the Ronald Reagan building. That'll be my third attempt at trying to get it past step one. So I have to try to dispel a lot of misinformation. So there's been a lot of that. Is there any more questions related to this item? I don't think the blue is unreasonable. Originally when I was looking at it, I thought maybe perhaps we could make it smaller. But when you compare it to our school district, honestly I think I kind of want to make it even bigger, because I think we should really capitalize on our school district more. Wichita's generating more revenue off our school district than we are. this is received and file. This is item H, Board of Zoning Appeals, this is H1, Strategic Growth Zone. So the proposed Strategic Growth Zone Overlay District was first presented to the Planning Commission and City Council during their joint meeting on August 27, 2025. The concept appeared to be generally viewed as a favorable long-term growth strategy by both bodies. However, staff did not advance the proposal at that time. We were just going for additional feedback. On July 1st, 2026, staff brought it back to City Council to confirm they would like to move forward with the proposed idea of adopting the Strategic Growth Zone Overlay District. City Council voted in favor of moving forward with the proposed amendment to the zoning regulations. It was published in the city newspaper, now comes before the Planning Commission for consideration. If approved, it would have to go before the City Council for final approval. So the Strategic Growth Zone Overlay is meant to be an area where developers can expect a more favorable outcome from the Planning Commission and City Council. Some of it's inside the city limits, but the vast majority of the Strategic Growth Zone is outside the city limits. And we have no authority outside the city limits, per se, when it comes to the rezonings and whatnot, if it's in the county, unless it's in a strategic, urban area of influence, which I think is interesting. But generally speaking, what we're saying to developers is, hey, we know that we adopted a two-family resolution, that the council did, and we know that some developers don't like it, but we prefer if those developers would consider at least submitting a rezoning application if it's near Goddard, so that we can try to at least work with them when it comes to design standards, maybe not ratios, and so that they can be in Goddard as opposed to being in Wichita. We would much rather have the property taxes and sales tax revenue from that development on the Goddard side as opposed to being in the Wichita side, where we have less review and less benefits from the development. So the way it's designed right here, as you can see, the orange is our strategic growth zone. Once again, I overlaid Goddard's Wichita's 2035 urban growth area, so you can kind of see what it looks like. What we would do, the way the strategic growth zone, would be drafted, it would be simply a removal of the ratios that we established in the two-family resolution, but not a removal of the design standards, which would be, the 60% for garages on the facade, the 10% for the windows, the wainscoting up 30% of the building. Those design standards would not go away inside the orange, but the ratios could go away, and as a way of incentivizing the developer if they're going to propose duplexes that they could consider it in this area. It doesn't give them an automatic rezoning. They still have to go through the process. So Planning Commission, if they still felt that the development was not favorable, they can still say no to the rezoning, and it still has to go before City Council, publication in 20 days. This just simply is supposed to be sort of a flag between us and Wichita, further establishing that we can work with the developer if they're in the orange area more favorably than if it was outside the orange area. Once again, that's the school district in comparison.
Just out of curiosity,
Yes.
that northern section there, is that Bay School District?
Renwick. I think Renwick goes all the way up this area, but I'm not sure here. Are you talking about over here?
Yeah.
Sorry. I think this is all Renwick over here,
Okay.
but I'm not 100%. I know this is Renwick over here, out this area. But I don't know when it goes from Renwick to Mays. I'm not sure what's out this area. But a lot of this area over here is Renwick.
So basically saying, if you live on the right side, if you're buying property on the right side of this line, we would be more favorable towards not having the ratio. If you have property on the left side of this line, would be less favorable to waiving the ratio.
Yeah, exactly. Which I know it can cause a lot of confusion, publicly speaking, because there's a lot of Wichita Eagle articles and other articles related to Goddard as pertains to that two-family resolution. And I know it can be very confusing for a lot of developers when they're looking at that, saying, so wait, are you in favor of duplexes because you just imposed restrictions and now you're saying you're adopting something to remove the restrictions? And so I know it can be kind of confusing at the same time. What we're ultimately saying is that we're trying to be strategic in specific areas and say that, hey, in this area, since we feel the pressure from Wichita more strongly, then perhaps if ratios are a big concern, we can remove the aspect of ratios. We don't feel very strongly that we have pressure coming from Garden Plains, so we felt that the 60-40 ratio might still be applicable and make sense in those areas. And so that's something to consider. Wichita has more firepower financially to offer incentives, and so if it came down to 50-50 for duplexes or 60-40, where 60% of them are duplexes to cover the cost of specials, and it was in this area, then perhaps we feel more favorable towards that type of development. Either that or, you would lose the millions of dollars of property taxes and compensating use tax to Wichita. Public notice was given incurring a small cost legally to purchase form. It is recommended the planning commission both, one, open the public hearing, receive comments, close the public hearing, and approve the introduction of strategic growth zone to the zoning regulations. After that, it has to go to city council for final approval. But at this point, Mr. Chair, you can open the public hearing.
We'll open the public hearing and we'll close the public hearing.
Very good. Now you can discuss amongst yourselves, ask any questions, or if you want to go back to the map, I can, of course.
On one hand, I think it's kind of silly to say if you live left of the line, follow the restrictions. If you live right of the line, if it's right of the line, maybe they're not so important. That's on one side, but the other thought is, if we don't allow it, Wichita's just going to, and they're going to be there anyways. So we might as well try to get it to be Goddard and not Wichita and get the money. So seems a screwed move.
Same thing gets built no matter who.
Right.
We
Yeah.
benefit from it.
Yeah, you might as well benefit from it.
And have a say so in it too.
Yeah, yes, at least have a little bit of control versus.
Wichita's at 167 straight line on down the road.
Mhm.
So do you need anything from us on this to proceed?
We need to approve the strategic zoning. The green. Go back one more, move that over there. Too far. That one there, so the green, does that count?
This area outside blue,
No, right in the middle between the blue and the purple and the gray.
right here?
Right,
That's otter.
It's just the two colors combined.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's got the orange, I got you.
Yeah, the orange is
Yellow
on
and blue.
top.
You're right, thank you.
That's the only thing I knew. Got that now.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can see from here, we already have a development here. In theory,
That's why I was curious, cause that's where Paul Kelsey's plot, so that's why I was confused. But
yeah,
that's fine.
and,
Color.
no, that's a good question, it's a good point though, because we have obviously had developers that felt that they've been, cheated in some cases because, the city deals differently with different developers at different times with different projects. And I know it can be a lot because time goes on and, one developer gets 100% duplexes, another one gets 50-50, another one gets 60-40. So and I hear all that, and so we're trying to standardize it a little bit, but I do realize that it causes a public confusion and a lot of emotional discontent when it comes to the private sector development. And we do recognize that. And not everybody, says that this is exactly the best policy in the world, or that the growth zone is the best way to move forward, or that the two-family resolution was the best thing in the world either. We're just simply saying that we're trying to coalesce a lot of different ideas around and still move forward without losing a lot of development and revenue to Wichita.
So is the strategic growth zone simply focused on percentage and everything else would stay intact, or is it
Yes.
still to be developed?
Yeah, it was. the thing is with that is that the strategic growth zone is once again, it's saying that the city would look favorably upon the development. It's gonna be a little bit difficult because the way the two-family resolution was drafted, it's still, not that it's a bad thing, but it still has a lever in there. The city council can say, some of that resolution will apply, or none of it will apply. And so that can cause, obviously, some issues, because it's not like council members sit forever, obviously. And so, in the future, there could be council members that say, hey, I don't care that they passed a two-family resolution, I want to see 70% single family, 30% two-family. And none of this would prohibit that, they still have that right. And so, as mentioned, that's a good point. All it's really doing is saying, hey, outside of this area, here and here, this is all in the county. It doesn't negate the rezoning process of publication, coming to planning commission, you guys making a recommendation, and then going to city council for final approval. They would simply say, hey, you would have to potentially submit this resolution that would restrict design standards and possibly restrict ratios, but maybe not. Ideally, it would be no ratio restriction. So that's just something that we would have to work out, legally speaking.
So then basically all we're doing is giving them hope.
Yes.
There's nothing binding here that says, if you choose to do something in these areas, we're going to say you can be 100% and no one will stop you. So
Yeah.
we're just simply giving them hope that if they go here and you come to us and say we'd like to do 80-20, 90-10, we might say yes.
Correct.
So what is the advantage here?
Really, it's supposed to be more like a move of solidarity between planning commission, city council, and the public, saying, hey, we recognize Wichita's coming. Hey, we understand developers, you're upset about the two-family resolution, or at least some of them are. But we're hoping that you will still work with us in the orange area, and that we are kind of putting a flag down to try to say we'd rather work with developers in the orange area, and if that means waiving the ratio requirement, we will, because we prefer you do with us than in Wichita.
So I guess the reason I ask my question is, first developer comes and they say, no, it's gonna be 50-50. Why is anyone else gonna come? I mean, we're not really, like I said, we're giving hope, but if we never follow through with that hope, we're not getting anywhere.
That's true. Ultimately, though, the hope would be given from the planning commission and city council.
The city council still, even if we agree, if they continue to be rigid, we're not gonna get anywhere.
It's true.
This is just tone, basically.
Yeah.
This is just, and so then the resolution that passes, is it just tone too then?
It can be.
It depends.
It's tone.
It
Yeah.
just depends on the night and the feeling and what it is, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what I get from it, because
Sometimes,
if they can waive it all together, then it's not really, we're not gonna change a developer's opinion of the rigidity and the fact that, of the favoritism, if you will.
Yeah. It's true. Ultimately, what we're saying is we're trying to strike a better tone, that we're trying to work with them.
But I guess in order to strike a better tone, to me, we have to give something up. We have to say, in this strategic growth area, if it's, if you're coming to us with anything more than 90-10, we wanna know, or 80-20. I mean, we have to give something up that's permanent, or it's still gonna be open to that night's discussion and that group's opinion.
Right. Yeah.
I get what you're saying, it's a tone thing, but how long's that tone gonna last? If we say no once or twice,
Yeah,
might as well not even do it.
I understand. It's very difficult because it's almost impossible to what our attorney has said. You can't bind the hands of a future planning commission or city council. It's just impossible. At any point, if this planning commission was populated with new planning commissioners, they could just simply ask me to draft a new resolution to, start the process of removing the strategic growth zone entirely. And if there was a new council and they felt the same way, they would approve it. And then there would be, so it's almost impossible to say, hey, we're going to guarantee something, because I can't even say you're going to guarantee a rezoning. You could still deny a rezoning in the orange area, because we can't say we're circumnavigating the state law zoning process.
Sure. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I guess I just don't understand why we're gonna put a strategic growth zone out here with really no guarantee.
Yeah, I just,
It's no guarantee, but at least to get some people at the table.
Yeah, but one or two people are gonna come to the table, if they hear no, why would the next,
Then
you know what I mean?
That's exactly what'll happen, it'll turn around that way, but this will give us the opportunity
To have the first conversation.
Well, to have the conversation where we might not have the conversation, the other side of it is though, is that if we do this, and then the council sits there and just says no to everything, then we can say, you were in favor of strategic zone, but you're not pending it.
yeah, I see what you're saying. It's hard to make guarantees on an overlay district when the vast majority of its outside are similar limits anyway, and that also saying that we can't circumnavigate state law to guarantee a rezoning, we can't say that either. And also since the resolution has been adopted, we can't even say that it's gonna circumnavigate the resolution either. All we can say is that we would look more favorably towards somebody, that's all we can really do. It's, once again, it's just tone. And then again, it doesn't even mean a developer will look favorably on us anyway, they may still just go to Wichita, because of the two-family resolution. So there's a lot that is about it.
So what is Wichita in the orange area, what would they allow? Do we know that?
I don't know what Wichita allows. I don't think they have any ratios or anything adopted of that nature right now. I couldn't tell you, so.
And every development going in, Pawnee and 135th, 119th, they're all.
Yeah, they are. There's a lot of duplexes. I mean, I know Turkey Creek is over off of 23rd, right around this area, I think, right around here.
Old on Kellogg, at
Yeah.
119th, 135th is all duplexes and storage, they had a storage facility out there.
Yeah,
They're-
yeah. And Area 151, I think, is mostly duplexes too.
Yeah.
And some Cypress Glen, for that matter. Cypress Glen, sorry, over here, is mostly all, I think all duplexes in here. So I don't think that they have ratios in that area. So, I mean, even though we'd say, hey, you know, we'll look more favorably on it, it's possible they'll just go with Wichita anyway. But,
Why doesn't it extend on west?
Orange?
The strategic
Yeah.
growth zone should go out to the edge of the Goddard School District, then go up to 21st Street and down to
Well,
39th Street.
I mean, part of this was from our conversation a year ago, where we
Yeah.
decided that we were gonna focus on the Wichita side to try to help with their growth to the west. I don't disagree with you, but that one, I
But
can't
that ain't
remember
gonna keep
you-
Wichita from just circling around.
No, and it's not gonna keep the people who buy those buy that land for wanting to be in Wichita either, but that
Yeah.
was just the reason why it looked like that, is cause that was that
But
conversation we had.
if they were in Wichita, they wouldn't be paying the additional 1% sales tax on stuff.
It's true. There's a lot of reasons why a developer may want to go with Wichita instead of Goddard. Wichita also has they have a benefit program, a water main benefit program, and they also have a lift station queue. So you can put your project in the queue and wait until funding's available to get a lift station paid for. So there's a lot of benefits that Wichita offers that we just are not in a financial position to offer the same thing. So it's very possible that somebody could buy this land here, you know, just right over here, or even right over here, or somewhere just nearby, and just be in the queue and say, I don't care that it's in the growth zone, I'm just gonna go with Wichita anyway, because Wichita's offering me a better incentive.
Maybe not.
We approve this tonight,
Is the strategic growth zone simply just an overlay and that's it, there's no more development of what that is?
So.
I mean, it's gonna go to city council,
Right.
Assuming they vote to approve it, then it's just an overlay and we're done. There isn't any more you're gonna do to develop what the strategic growth zone means, looks like, that we have to look at, approve,
No,
discuss.
at this point, it would just move to city council. There would be an ordinance to introduce it into the subdivision regulations, and then it would show up as this map. So you would see it on the official zoning map, and it would pop up here, and you can see it. But honestly, like I said, with adoption of the resolution, the language is gonna be exactly pretty ambiguous because of the fact that I can't guarantee, I can't write something that says you shall be guaranteed the zoning, you shall be guaranteed the ratios, you shall be,
Sure.
I can't say any of that in the overlay. So it would simply be, we will look favorably upon this area. So everything I just described is basically the language that's gonna have to go into the ordinance for adoption because I can't guarantee anything in the overlay. So.
If we don't approve it, I mean, essentially allows Wichita to just continue to, we really don't have much of a chance to
Honestly, it's Wichita advancing. None of this stops Wichita from advancing. You can't stop Wichita from advancing. The only thing we can do would be more aggressive annexation to stop Wichita from advancing, but obviously that falls on the city council approving annexations to create that barrier. But other than that, you can't really stop Wichita from annexing those properties.
Micah, isn't there, sorry to interrupt, but aren't both the orange spaces also higher elevation, so it would help with the plumbing of pipes and water?
I don't have topo, I can tell you that. I don't know the topography there, but no, I'm not 100% sure. A lot of it, I think to Danny's question, she's asking about elevations. That definitely helps with stormwater and sewer, especially sewer, because water is pressurized, but sewer with lift stations, that's honestly one of the biggest hurdles anyway, is can it even be developed? And also the floodplain, that's another thing to consider. Yeah, but once again, it's back to Commissioner Hayden's point, it's striking a tone mostly without committing to any formal guarantees.
Ready for motion?
I think so.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the introduction of the strategic growth zone into the zoning regulation.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Very good. Moving on, this is staff report. So July was very favorable for us. I just kind of wanted to bring that up. First and foremost, we had 12 single-family permits, 2 room additions, 1 mixed use. So they did start the process for pulling the permit for the apartment and mixed commercial on first floor of the Overland Property Group south of Walmart. So they're dropping off the construction trailer probably tomorrow, the day after that. So you will see them out there. I think it's Zernco. I should probably go back. Might be Conco or Zernco. Might be Zernco. So anyway, they're dropping off the construction trailer and they will be paying the fee, which is good for us because obviously then they can start construction and pull the building permit. So that'll be pretty exciting to see that move forward. 1 finished basement and 1 deck. The total for the month of July is $109,913,000. So that was pretty exciting to see all that. And the sum of the valuation, once everything's built out, is $18 million. So that's pretty exciting. Obviously the bulk of it being the mixed use development. So July was a very good month, very good month, and we're hoping that that permits will continue to come in for the rest of the year as we move forward. And hopefully, it doesn't rain, but obviously we also hope that it gets cooler because I feel bad for everybody out there working in this heat. But this was interesting. We had somebody reach out and ask for some economic development data, so I had to do some general research, but I pulled a 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile, and 7 mile buffer ring around 183rd and 54 to try to look at what was happening in that area. And how many permits were pulled in 2021 to date? And so we've had 1,221 two-family permits pulled of 1,484 single-family permits pulled in this area. So as you can see, a lot of the concentration is around Goddard and starts to get spread out a little bit further. But obviously over here, this area, you can see where Wichita's congregating around their permits. But that's just kind of interesting. And then when you combine that with plats, so residential plats that were filed since 2021 were 87. 23 were filed since January 2025, so roughly 20+% were filed in a little over a year and a half. So that's 5,286 lots were platted. 2,705 permits were pulled per that last one since 2021. So you got 49% remaining lots for permits based on that data. So definitely a lot of growth around Goddard and in the surrounding concentric rings for 1 mile, 3 mile, 5 and 7. So density is going to continue, obviously, and continue to grow in that area, but also it kind of gives you more of an understanding of why we're asking for that urban area of influence, because you're seeing all these happening around us. We could have more of a review of that area. Yes. Did you have a question? Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we have a lot of development potential continuing, and we're starting to see a lot more plats filed for, especially for residential development. Moving on to County Commissioner comments.
Nothing? No?
What's the plan with all that dirt that's being dropped by?
They need somewhere to put it.
Yeah, but
I can't talk about it too much. Obviously, you guys would have to see a site plan first, but they wanted to prep this pad first before they actually submitted a site plan and a building permit. But so I can't talk about it too much right now. But obviously, it's going to be commercial because of the Galleria. But you guys would have to see. There's no site plan for it yet. There's no building permit, so you would have to see that first. It's my understanding that they'll get it prepped for development.
Will be flattened through.
Yeah, because you probably noticed that particular lot, it slopes down pretty severely from the road, and so water just pools in that area. So they want to build it up a little bit.
But you can't tell us what it is.
No, I can't.
I was thinking it was temporary.
No, ideally they're going to be moving forward with development in that area. But I don't, even if I said what it was, if they don't submit a site plan, it's just fictitious in my mind until it's actually a real site plan. So, I mean, everyone can talk about commercial development, but until they actually send a site plan to me, which then I have to present to you guys, then it doesn't, it's all just talk. Talk with different. Say what? Your rhymes of commercial development. What else?
I can't think of the name of it, this stuff developed.
Yeah, Paradise Corner.
Yes.
So Paradise Corner, SBT actually emailed me today. So they sent their architectural and engineering to MABCD for review. MABCD kicked it back because they were referencing the 2021 IBC and they needed to reference the 2024 IBC. So there were some minor changes that needed to happen. So SPT then turned around and submitted it back to MABCD with their modifications for the 2024 IBC. And so we're hoping that we'll see a small town form submitted this week, and then they can submit their permit. And so we'll see that moving forward. That would be pretty exciting too.
What is that one?
Right next to Scooters. Right next to Scooters, in between Main Street and Cedar.
Not strip mall, business development.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strip center right over there. You guys saw the site plan for it, so they've already got the zoning, the site plan was approved, it's just a matter of updating their architectural plans to actually match the 2024 IBC.
Just out of curiosity, I had to say it's first day of school, and since the last time school broke, they had the parents came to our joint meeting and had a question about the school blocking off the access.
The fence.
You do know if that ever got resolved?
The fence is still up.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any intention of resolving it in any meaningful way right now that I'm aware of. I mean, I think a lot of parents, especially over there off Easy Street, would like to see a gate. An unlocked gate that their kids can travel through. Right now, I haven't heard of any plans to amend that fence. It is on the school property, and the rationale was from the school that they don't want kids running that way up to 54, so they blocked it off. Yeah, but I don't, right now, that's more of a school district question. If they're gonna introduce a gate, there's nothing the city can do to force them to do that. It's their property. We talked about putting in a sidewalk, but sidewalk would just, dump onto, I think that's Oak Street or Walnut, I can't remember, I think it's Walnut. And there's no sidewalk on Walnut, so the kids would just be walking on the road.
I got one. Did A&M Plumbing buy that building, or are they leasing it?
They're leasing it right now, they haven't changed ownership, unless, not that I'm aware of. Yeah, you're talking about for the 54 Motors LLC?
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I know, they're still leasing.
No, I'm talking there next to Ace Hardware,
Ace Hardware.
just west of where the appliance store was. A&M Plumbing moved in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I don't know if they're owning it or leasing it, I can check ownership listings.
Because if they own, they bought the building, they've got to change the sign.
Yeah, I do, yeah. I can follow up with that. That's a good question. Did you say A&M Plumbing? Yeah, I can check and see, and then I can reach out to them and say you didn't change your sign if they have ownership of the building.
Karen, are we looking for a motion?
He's got to that page yet.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Now I'm ready.
Okay. I'll make the motion with you.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.